Want to look on your phones to see if anybody's asking questions or whatever? Feel free to do so. So DJ, make sure that you can see you.
He in there.
He in there?
You see it.
All right. And always talk into this. Don't talk to this, all right?
Yeah. Talk to the hand, because the face don't understand.
Whoa. Let me see. I'm not.
It's not working.
Slide through and say what up. I see myself checking your phone.
There we go. Okay. Let me take it back.
Oh, what's your phone?
What's that?
You got it on?
Yeah, there we go.
Cool.
We got a little squiggly.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. 3, 2, 1, and welcome to another episode of the Hood Grace Podcast. Why are you laughing, DJ?
No,
I haven't even introduced myself. You already laughing. Come on, bro. Give me a break. You can barely see yourself on the screen.
No, it's fine.
He there.
All right, so let me do it again. It's your boy, the Reverend, Right Reverend Rubio from the Reformed Church of Los Angeles, the city of Lynwood. And next to me is the homie.
We introduce ourselves. I'm Tommy, Epiphany, LA, in the Crenshaw district. Good to be here.
Crenshaw.
Yeah.
I'm Steve. I'm out in Ventura at a Rise Church.
Yeah, Patrick, I'm at Origin Church in Sacramento.
Patrick what?
Patrick Thompson.
Say that with sunlight.
I'm Steve Ross.
Patrick Thompson.
Some respect for one.
Awesome. I'm Daniel Jansson, DJ, Imago Day Church, Downey, and Southgate coming up.
Hey, all we say is DJ on the Hood Grace podcast.
DJ. It sounds more
Your
gangster,
name's
bro.
not Daniel.
This is
DJ.
fulfilling a lifelong dream of the young man. Hood Grace podcast.
It sounds more gangster. So let me, because this microphone is right in the middle, we all speak into the microphone. But where are we at, guys? Like, what are we doing? We're in Reno, the biggest little city in the world. What are we doing here?
It's dope. Acts 29 US West Conference. It's our regional annual event where 125 churches get together, bring their leaders and their teams. We got about 850 people in the building. And it's just a time of equipping. So it's a cool spot. It's great actually for the West Coast. We bring 13 US West states together, people from Hawaii all the way back over to the Pacific Northwest, Cali, and so on. So
Dope. What are some of the things that you guys look forward to coming to this? This is my first time coming to the conference, right? It's my first time, so I'm excited. I'm like a little kid, little fat kid in the candy store, But it's dope when you walk in and you see a bunch of people you know. Like yesterday at the lead pastors meeting, Steve, that you were there. Like I stood up and said my name, and I had you and Pat and a couple other dudes, and Tommy whoop whoop, and it's my first time here, and I felt the love, I felt the acceptance, the camaraderie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How about you guys?
Man, you spoke to it. The camaraderie, the fellowship. Man, it's encouraging being around other guys that are in the same work together. You know, so
Yeah, there's something refreshing and encouraging that we all need to hear in church planting. In a different context where we are. So I come in here just expecting, anticipating that some of the stuff, usually what I do is I'll journal. So I'm like, Lord, what are some things that I'm struggling with, that I'm praying about? And so it's funny to see even in yesterday, anticipating seeing God connect with some of those areas. With brothers that have been through that, be like, oh yeah, that's normal for this phase. Yeah. But that's normal. I'm like, oh, okay, we're beating ourselves up, right? Expectations are off, and when we hear from other brothers, it's like, oh yeah, that's a common thing. Yeah. Okay, so how did you walk through it? Yeah. So that stuff's always dope for me.
How about you, DJ? It's your first time too?
First time, when we're still checking out the network, so we're not only one representative who's not officially 829, but
10 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah. We have a lot of friends, in Acts 29. I mean, just met Patrick, but knowing you guys and passion for church planting. I love what Acts 29 is about. So we brought a team, just honestly to participate, to learn, to grow, to encounter God, but also to observe and to ask questions and to meet people. And I've got a lot of good connections, but bringing some of my people along with to see, is this part of what God has for our story as a church?
Yeah, it's good to be reminded too of the fact that, man, we're a part of something bigger than ourselves. And, man, it's just good for me to be reminded of the fact that, man, this is God's work. It's His mission. And just by grace that I get to be a part of it,
Yeah, sure. So, with that said, we're all here. We're here for the 829 conference. We know some of the, like what are some of the things that you're looking to, or that you've already been blessed with by? I'll tell you right now, bro. This morning, when we started leading worship, well, not leading worship, but we were in worship, bro. Like,
Come on.
man, bro, like I teared up. Like I needed that. It was refreshing. To hear that one song, "Oh Praise His Name," you know, and then to have him here in Spanish too, I was like, oh man, bro, like just floodgate broke up. I'm crying, I'm tearing up, but in a good way, like just to remind me of how good Jesus is. You know, like sometimes being a pastor, you can get so caught up with like, hey, is the PowerPoint working? Hey, is the usher there? Hey, is this? Are you ready for the offering? Like, you can't really be present to what's happening. You know what I'm saying? How about you guys?
Yeah, the dope thing is even bringing that up. So I'm always running around doing that. I wear those administrative hats, and now I'm slid into this lead pastor thing, trying to figure out how not to do it all. And like, I just know where I would have been when the power went out. Because the power went out in all downtown Reno.
I ain't gonna tell you where I was.
Hey, dog, you put yourself on the line. Yeah, you was in the worst possible place.
For real.
But yeah, hour and a half without no power all downtown. It probably was about a half hour down there or more because he preached the whole sermon. But just the fact that we just was able to keep diving in, and Tori preached a banging message and challenged us all. And we're talking about from, you know, the room is probably 150 feet long, and he just projected his voice. And it reminded me of the fact that we depend too much on all of that technology.
Yeah, we do.
Like he just gave us the gospel in the dark, and everybody heard him and was challenged.
Wait, so let's look at the hyperbole or allegory or whatever you guys want to call it, whatever the right term is. We're literally sitting in the dark, literally, and he's bringing the light of the gospel.
It was banging, dog. So good. It was so good.
Chris too, man.
Hey, that might be a good sermon story somewhere along the line, somewhere, right?
I gotta preach on Sundays.
Oh. So DJ's from Downey. My boy Pat is from up in Sacramento area, right? Exactly, specifically where?
Arden Arcade area, if you're familiar with Sacramento.
And my boy Steve is in Ventura.
I can't be from Lynwood just because you're from Lynwood.
All right. So, you heard how he said now.
I met him in Bellflower.
And he's a Ventura.
Just love him.
And he's a Ventura. He's like, but he won't go back to Lynwood.
I just want y'all to love him. That's all. No, Ventura though, all day, and I love it. It's been great. We in an amazing place. So yeah.
Dope. And Tommy's in the Crenshaw district of Los Angeles, and y'all know where we're at. We're in Lynwood already, right? That's been established. But let's make it interesting, because how much time do we got? It's 12 o'clock.
We got a few minutes.
We got a few minutes.
Yeah.
So I noticed a little while ago when people started tagging me on a Facebook story that Dr. Eric Mason, right, had posted, and I was like, what? And it had to do with Dr. James White. So we refer to him as the other James White. Okay. And like I said earlier, I think he's one of the dopest, most gangsterish apologists out there, right? Debaters, the people from the other faith. I don't think he held his hat to a dude that was coming from an Orthodox Presbyterian church to talk about covenant theology and infant baptism. I think he swept the floor with them, but that's just personal bias. That's what you But outside of every single other debate, like the dudes killed it. But Dr. Eric Mason posted a clip of video where he said some stuff that I think could have been said in a better way, not negating any of the truth that he said, right? Because there's some truth to what he said, but it's how he said, and at the same time, not celebrating all the good things that are happening in ethnic minority, and especially the black church. Because that's what he said. Now, how was your interpretation, and very briefly, of what it was that he said?
I mean, I would probably be the one who should go last.
Okay.
You feel me? Like, but
What are you looking for? Like a summary? What are you?
Yeah, just 15, 20, 30 seconds of how you interpreted what he
here
said.
I go. I have fundamental disagreements with James White. There was a time I would go to...
I do too.
I would go to...
I do too.
I went to Cal State University of Fullerton, and this was in 2008, 2009. He's debating some Muslims, and it was crazy, yo. At that time, I used to go to the mosque every Friday and witness to Muslims. I would always stand out there. We would get chased. We got beat on. We got spit on. And so we were engaging these populations. I remember there was a guy in Downey that ended up, he was one of the guys who would threaten us all the time. And we had to call the police one time. They actually raided his house and found like millions of dollars worth of cash, all kinds of grenades and stuff. Like homeboy was ready to go jihad in Downey, okay, at the mosque. So we were doing this, and I used to follow James White because he was like unashamed and like willing to do all kinds of apologetics.
He was gangster with it, bro.
But man, like I feel like that knowledge puffs up.
It does.
Like, I honestly have seen a lot of these dudes slide into elitism. You feel me? And, you know, the message that we just talked about in terms of the light of the gospel coming in to shine in the dark, he's preaching Galatians 2 and about the fact that Paul said, I oppose Cephas to his face, Peter to his face, because he was out of step with the gospel and being hypocritical and leading others astray. That's them cats.
And it's not just
I
him,
feel
it's
that way.
other cats
Yeah, I feel that
are
way
the
about
same
James
camp.
White.
Yeah.
When he starts talking about anti-intellectualism and the fact that the black church essentially is
Anti-church history is
bogus.
like
It's never been. I'm
So see-
everywhere, you're never there.
So
There's no
here's the
idea.
thing. I know, like what he said, bro. It applies to the Hispanic Latino church, right? Where we're a lot of
But see, the
charismatic.
thing is like some denominations,
No, yeah, but
not
the
whole
majority. But hear me out. Hear me out. Like, but that's not. It's not uncommon in Latino churches, right? Where it's emotionalism, sensationalism, charismania, like very little theology. Like, I don't disagree with what he said. It may hit a nerve because he's not a Latino and he's speaking on my culture, but he said that they're anti.
Yeah,
It's not just saying that they're lacking,
exactly.
right? He's not saying that they're lacking. He's saying that they're actually against.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying
against
it's
sound doctrines,
hypocritical.
against church history, against this, and to say especially the black church.
That was all bad.
Wow.
That's what we don't know how much racism invades so many things in our life. I mean, literally, and what's happening now is that this stuff is coming out that's been there the whole time, and it's surfacing. Like the irony of what was said, there's so much wrong with that. And one of the things that was so ironic about that is that literally you're saying a particular people that does know church history, doesn't know history, but that statement is rooted in the ignorance of history.
That's 100.
It's a good word.
That's the thing.
Because he
that
could
is so
not name
sad.
any of the people who historically have championed the things that he's still learning.
Come on, dog. And let alone what Thomas Oden has written about bringing our awareness. And I think this is where we
Just
have.
as an aside, Thomas Oden, just for the people.
Oh yeah, check out Thomas Oden's
He's a
stuff.
gangster theologian, bro. He's
Oh,
And
man.
just give us
What's it like his
ODEN, not Odin, like the
Norse god.
yeah, the Norse.
Yeah, not bad. But even I was reading his, I grabbed his classic Christianity systematic theology. I'm not going to agree with everything he says with some of the theological stuff. But here's the thing where he gets and nails it, is he says, man, when he breaks down systematic, there's always been some medieval and then Reformation moving forward with systematics.
Yeah.
But we don't have the early church history. And so even the way he talks about in his book, was it the Seabed, How Africa Shaped the Christian Mind? Stuff like that. I think that's important because we've lost that, and it's a blind. I think as white theologians and pastors and leaders, there is a deep blind spot that we have that needs to be broken through the application of the gospel. And so we can't even see the irony of that.
I want to hear from you, Pat, and then DJ, and then I want to talk about what that means contextually to us, right? That's good. Contextually to us, because we can just sit here and complain and about stuff, but let's talk about what that means not in academia, right, in that world, but to local dudes on the block, in the hood, in the community, doing church.
Yeah,
That's huge.
Well, I don't have a ton to offer. I actually don't know James White as an apologist at all. I only know him from.
I just know about his
Stuff
mistake
that
on
pops
baptism,
up
bro.
his recent
I just know he got. I just know he's got baptism completely backwards. So outside of that,
Yeah, just I hear that, so that's all I ever see from the guy. And I'm just like, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is, and there's an irony of, and I'm not as well read on things as I should be, but I hear like, okay, anti-intellectual, but then I hear the arguments that are made, and I'm like, no, who's the anti-intellectual here? That's
good. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who's the, like, that there are actual arguments that are being made back, and it's like, are you even hearing those arguments? Are you processing those arguments? If you're not, who's the anti-intellectual on that?
yeah. What's up with you, Pat? What do you think?
Yeah. I think some of the words that you guys have brought up thus far, man, have been really good. And I would add to that, his comments were offensive.
Yeah.
They're offensive.
There's nothing loving about that.
They're
We're talking about
arrogant.
brothers in Christ, right?
Let's talk about anti-love.
And they're
Lovism.
ignorant.
That's
Tommy,
the word.
I think you brought up the word ignorant. And they're completely overlooking the fact that the church in the West is in an even better place because of the black church.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree.
Look at Bonhoeffer.
The endurance, the perseverance.
Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the
Thank you.
shaping,
Absolutely.
not just of what Odin brings up, but
Bonhoeffer
practically
was shaped by the black church.
by the black church. That's what.
So it's sad to me that he's intentionally overlooking things like that.
Hey, real quick, shout out to the homie Jack Barry in
What up, Jack?
Tacoma, Washington. What
Yo.
up, Jack? You missed it. I just said how James White had baptism backwards, but we'll talk about that some other time. Zachary, young Zach, bro.
Oh, the garment?
You said you got the MacArthur right in the middle.
Oof.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Huh?
Hey.
That's all right. We sent him up the road.
Oh man, bro. He said you got the MacArthur right. He
Season
said,
sponsor that.
you said you got the MacArthur right in the middle, man. And the homie Danny up in Asia, up in Chicago. What's cracking, bro? He supported the teachers on strike. So I had a chance to peep in before the lights went out as I was. So I was on social media, right, looking at the thread, and there's like Hispanic dudes like dogmatically like defending James White, and people saying like, well, he's not lying. And I don't think I have, like I said, I don't think I have an issue with somebody, even though it may sting a little bit or hit a nerve that somebody who's non-Latino saying something negative or derogatory or just calling out a truth in my culture.
Yeah.
But to say it in such an unloving way, like we're talking about brothers and sisters in Christ, like he could have said, I think he could have said, hey, you know what, like historically speaking, you know, the black churches, but you know what, I want to celebrate all the good things that are happening, like Dr. Eric Mason and what Dr. Tony Evans has done, and just go through the list, Brian Loritz, and all the
problem is that their attitudes about these folks, some of the people you just named, is again posturing the same attitude of like spewing lies, slandering people, creating whole websites. Right?
Because of the social
right?
justice thing,
so
right?
my man's shirt, right? That's going to cause problems for the group. They're like, oh, well, church,
What did it
that's
say?
intersectionality and mission dress. And it's because these guys have gotten so good with huddling up in these spaces that are very small and saying we have the corner on truth, and basically giving license to Pharisees and elitism. I keep saying that, moralism. They preach so much against legalism. They name their churches after grace and mercy and these things. But
anti-gracism.
Bro, and then it's like literally like if you don't fit in this box and do things this way, then you're not solid or sound.
You out the car.
But see, here's the thing, Eric Mason, I would actually just say, if people can go and look at Eric Mason's post, because he's the one that shared it where I saw it.
Me too.
Like, he just names out theologian and pastor after pastor, scholar after scholar, that would actually undermine everything that James said. And so the thing is that I think it's just ignorant, man. That's why I like what you said about, like, let's just make it our context. We don't even have to keep giving him time. Like, how's that look in Ventura?
Yeah.
We're leading a movement of radically diverse world changers that is more diverse than the city, and we're intentionally calling people to be reconciled to God and one another. And that looks like a multi-ethnic group of people who are passionate about seeing ethnic reconciliation.
I want to call out something that you guys use. You guys use a similar hashtag to us. Chris uses it more than I do, but it's Christ, community, and culture.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? I don't care about your sound theology and your doctrine if it always stays in your head in the academic world and never finds its way through your heart, into your hands, and into the hood and the community, that it would be lived out and brought people to Christ.
And I think one of those things is like, for practically in ours, we're in a real interesting situation. I think the cities, in the world to some degree, but especially the major cities in the U.S. going through this gentrification process, we have to be very prayerful and careful for our context. We're already experiencing the missiological deficit because in some degree we have not been thoughtful and careful about areas of blind spots.
Tom uses big words, yo. I have to pull a dictionary.
So what I'm saying,
I mean, make it plain for us.
So what I'm really playing
You're preaching,
is if we don't know our ignorance and not among one another to bring out those blind spots, then the way that I go about living out my application with blind spots can perpetuate a message that doesn't reflect the good news of Jesus Christ.
But when you're so smart, you don't have blind spots, because if you had blind spots, you wouldn't be so smart. You were going to say something.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I've been thinking about just your comment, Rudy, of like, hey, there's a tinge of this that might be true. even then, stretch it back and be thinking about, I think about our context, like one of the nearest seminaries is Biola, Talbot, which is right there. And Biola started was in the city and moved out to the suburbs. You know what I mean? And so there's this, even like some of the theological training that he would say, hey, you need X, Y, Z thing has been taken away from the city. And that's it. Look, I'm a Talbot grad. I'm for that. But then what happens is that creates a context where everything is pushed for a certain culture, a certain way, and then there's a feedback loop to all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
right.
it's like I was doing ministry in Bell Gardens, and then even just looking across to Downey, which is like the nice city for our area, and be like, where's the church plant in that city?
Yeah.
Where's the multiplication thing? Where are the leaders being developed? And to be developed, you have to leave this area.
Come on,
right? And so like, even if that statement is true, which I think we could fight and say no, it's not true. But even if it is true, the way he phrased it, put it as if the fault is somehow on the like multi-ethnic, the black church in and of itself, and saying, like, no, we're in this together, and like, what are you doing about it? And then the shame,
how is it beneficial?
Yeah. Well, the shame of it is just real quick. It's like James White, from what I can see, has a massive following. Like on YouTube, on here, like he's using a platform that's not like where you don't have to.
We don't have to look at it,
Exactly. But like, man, we need platforms, we need stuff like that to like bring good word, to raise up leaders. How can we use that to leverage, to encourage and upbuild and lift up?
So, I think all of us here, and a lot of the people here that folks that we do ministry with, don't really fall into a specific camp, right? Like we're too conservative for the liberals, we're too liberal for the conservatives. We're like, you know what I mean? Like we're like a different breed, but we're not on opposite spectrums where you can be woke and be reformed. And I know you don't like that title all the time.
I'm fine with it.
But
we have to be
the reformed one?
Yeah, but we have to be careful about
but what I'm
the
saying,
historical implications.
I'm not the whole slavery thing and all that, but what I'm saying though is like, it's okay to be both and. You don't have to be one or the other. Like, why can't you be theologically sound and have a love for the gospel to motivate you to do acts of good deeds and social justice?
Why do we have to
It doesn't have to be replaced. That's what I'm
reality
saying.
is
why
it's
does
not
it
simple.
can't be like theologically sound?
That's what I'm saying.
What does that even
That
mean?
theology-
Theologically sound?
Yeah.
Give it to us, fam.
Come on, guys.
Go, Pat. You've been quiet.
Come on,
You
guys.
hit it, bro. You're on it, man. That theology is going to shape me. It's going to shape my everyday life, right? It's going to shape the way that I relate to others. It's going to propel me to love God and love those around me in my city. Revelation 7, Revelation 5, looking at multi-ethnic, multicultural worship. That's going to shape the now, right? So
If that's not a hunger, like, do you understand the gospel? If that's not like, that is well.
so that's
It's a hunger, it's like a pursuit. Like
so it's a
that.
false dichotomy.
Yeah.
What? Let me. Yeah, go.
I just love it because when you talk about the hunger and the pursuit, it just makes me realize like
He got red, bro. He got
absolutely, I'm like, good. I love it. You just talk. I don't want to monopolize.
Here's something that's interesting about like I think sometimes as a white man in America, it's easy to begin. I think a lot of white leaders.
He's white? You're white, Tommy? Dang, bro.
is America kind of tells us we have, I mean, obviously, like the theological institutions, we've arrived, right? There's this sense of this is perfect sound theology, if you will, right? And I think what happens is that we have to be careful about the ironies of the Christian faith within that context, because we're saying, well, I've arrived, but then I'm teaching about sanctification.
Yeah.
But do I really think that I still am subject to progressive sanctification in my understanding of how the gospel impacts every area of life?
Yes. And see, I keep you saying elitism and everything. It's just it's the polar opposite characteristic of a person from humility and being teachable. You've arrived, you know, you have the truth, you are a defender on truth, you consider yourself to be a gatekeeper, and yet you lie.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And it's because knowledge, again, it does that to us. Every bit of knowledge that we amass, it just leads us to a place where we feel like we can posture ourselves over others. And that's why I refer back to Galatians 2. When you have Peter saying, yo, y'all was eating carnitas. I mean, Paul saying, you was eating carnitas. You was eating pork ribs.
I was like, what?
Yeah. You're like, wait, what's this in there?
Is that the Mexican standard version?
Yeah, absolutely, right? Absolutely. We're from Lynwood, aren't we? Okay, let's make sure. You can use that on Sunday.
Yeah. I was like,
But so the thing is, like, Paul's like, you was sitting at the table with the Gentiles eating, and you was enjoying that moment.
Yeah.
And then when the brothers from Jerusalem came, you pulled away, and now you've led other people astray.
Yeah.
Right? Even Barnabas, who was an encourager, right? You even led him astray. That kind of hypocrisy, I think, is infiltrating the church. And in our day and age, we're actually seeing a divide because people who are unsuspecting, whoever the Hispanic brothers that you talk about, who say like, man, he's not lying. I don't think that many of them have navigated the quote unquote black church with any depth to the point where they have receipts or any facts that they could back up those observations.
Yeah.
They might be looking at this, bugged out church on the corner that they know of or heard of or seeing something on TBN. They have no idea about the historic, prophetic, and literally leading the charge movement of a black church that grew out of the fact that we have to have a black church because we're not allowed in the white church. We have to.
And I think a lot of these brothers, though, they're just, they I don't want to say misled because, I mean, all that these dudes have James White, MacArthur, they haven't, a lot of their stuff is good, you know what I'm saying? But I think that they can become I don't want to say an idol, but they just they hold these guys up on such a high pedestal.
Idolize.
That
That's okay.
Okay, that they just, nothing they can say is wrong.
That's right.
And they
That's
defend
right.
them because they went to their seminary, because they go to churches with pastors that graduated from the master's seminary, and those backgrounds and those
You
those
have
pockets
checked
of
me.
Christianity.
You have checked me and corrected me multiple times. You have checked me and corrected me multiple times. I walked through the Downey landing with you, and you have checked me and corrected me. The thing is that those guys, they're out of reach.
Yeah.
You can't even get to a person. You can't even speak to a person like these guys. And if you do, then it turns into a spot where it's like, oh man, that guy has drifted away from the gospel. This intersection, that's crazy.
I think let's look at, in light of that, how do we need to respond and be sober?
That was the question I was going to ask. Is okay, so it's one thing, you can call out other people's blind spots.
Yep, we had our 6 minute mark.
We had a 6 minute mark. Guys, we got to bounce in, but okay. Because believe it or not, I'm white. And
What?
I know, but
Wait again.
turning red. Yeah, it feels it. And I mean, coming white culture, we're hearing conversations like this. Makes people nervous, makes people I'm not sure. And so I think one thought that I can hear in my head as we're having this conversation is okay, talking about elitism, talking about is this conversation flip it and turn and become elitism of woke church, are we now woke? What does it mean to be woke? And so I guess my question is how do, if we're saying that, what is a humble, gospel saturated, not
diversifying the people you're reading, diversifying the people you relate to, your influencers, your the theologians, contemporary and old, reading church history not just with the lens that's all in your discipline, but intentionally going and saying, I want to read Hispanic and Asian, not just Asian American. I want to read African, not just African American theologians and things like that, historians, and being able to have a more better and a more holistic view on the history of the church and the life of the gospel.
Yeah.
So could we give a recommendation here? If you're feeling like maybe you're deficient in understanding of the significance of the black church in America, this is a good book, The Black Church and the African American Experience by Lincoln and Mamiya. You can show that. Y'all can see that joint.
Well, if somebody's listening on iTunes, they're not going to see what you're talking about.
He could throw a link.
So check into that. I think there is a sense of, for us, in all humility, we need to begin to be aware of historical dynamics for apologetics today. And I think for really moving through what y'all are talking about is how do we come in with a sober mindedness and says, you know what, there's a lot of church history that I don't know about because because I have been shaped by the West. It's not a bad thing, but it's an insufficient thing.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think, actually, I appreciate Pastor E, Dr. Mason's my pop. I appreciate his response of how do we be a loving response when even like when I hear that statement, it's like, oh, like when you say especially the black church, like that's a strong, like, that's an offensive statement. It's wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not, and so I think just approaches like that surrounding themselves, but even I just so appreciate his response about how to be a loving, respectful response, but then illuminate and show, but this isn't complete. We have to do better.
Yeah. Okay, I know we got to start wrapping up because we got to get back to the conference. A couple of shout outs real quick from, let's see, Lorenzo Elizondo.
What up,
He
Zo?
said, Tommy Steve Rudolph, what's up?
Word up.
Texas
My boy
boys.
Jonathan Reyes in Chicago. Oh, actually, he's outside of Chicago. Daniel Ramos in Chicago. Zach, the one that called you MacArthurite. I don't know if you want to give him a shout out or give him a boot upside his head.
I absolutely love my man. Shout out Nick Acker though. What did Nick say? What Nick say?
Nick said he was coming in late. He wanted. We were talking about what did James White said. I think he picked up what we were putting down.
That's my local homie right there.
At Robinson, South Florida.
What up,
checked
G?
in. Martin Velasquez. That's exactly what we were talking about, bro. Brandon Gold said, ironically, their siloed good theology leads to bad conclusions. And Jack Berry said, y'all better not be smoking cigars. That was last night.
Oops, you missed out.
Oops, my bad. Did I just say that on live?
But of course, we're drinking good coffee too.
And the homie Jonathan Gonzalez from here, Reno, Nevada. Guys, I want to wrap up. Before we go, I want to make sure that everybody who's listening or watching knows if they're in your neck of the woods on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, where they should check in to hear a gospel-saturated expository sermon with practical application for their lives day to day. DJ, if somebody's in Downey, what do they got to be at what time?
Yeah, 9826 Priscilla. Check us out, Imago Day Church, 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 5 p.m.
Pat, if they're from the Sacramento area, where they got to be on Sunday?
4600 Winding Way, 10:30 a.m.
And Origin Church.
Origin Church.
And if somebody's by the beach in Ventura in the afternoon.
Yeah, I know y'all come and kick it, hang out on the beach. See us at 4 o'clock at riseventura.com.
What's the address there?
You don't even need it. 889 East Santa Clara Street.
There it is.
No need, but just
But you just hit the website.
Just GPS is fixed wherever.
Someone's going to listen to the podcast, put it back, right? And you write that down.
I'm trying to give him a plug. He's like, you don't need it. I'm like, all right, whatever.
It's like,
If anybody's in the Crenshaw district,
Yeah, if you're over by the Baldwin Hills Mall, Crenshaw YMCA, Epiphany LA, at 11 a.m. Come through. It's 3820 Santa Rosalia. By that new Kaiser across the catty corner from the Baldwin Hills Mall.
Man, if you're in the Lynwood, Compton, and Watts area, you're
hop
welcome.
on Facebook.
Huh?
I'm just kidding.
What happened?
I didn't get to say, hey,